Start. And Bubba McDowell, the head coach of the Prairie View A&M Panthers. You may remember his days as a very good defensive back with the Houston Oilers. Third season as head coach. Spent 10 years prior to that as an assistant. A 13-12 record. Jonathan Kemp, huge leg. We've seen it on field goals. We've seen it on kickoffs. That one through the end zone. Michigan State won the toss. They deferred their option. They kick off. And the Panthers from Prairie View A&M, Prairie View, Texas, northwest of Houston, they will take the field on offense to start the game.
Really cool opportunity here for Prairie View A&M. Step onto the field at Spartan Stadium for the first time. Big stage for them, big opponent. Cam Peters, the quarterback that leads them out there.
Cam Peters is a transfer from UTSA. He played 2 games there, 2020 through 2022, then a year at Kilgore College, and now 28 of 53 for 391 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. By the way, both of those interceptions were pick sixes, but they still beat Northwestern State last week. And he throws to the back shoulder too far behind Shamar Savage, the best wide receiver on this Prairie View A&M team. And he's part of the starting lineup on the offensive side of the ball for the Panthers.
I'd say Peters looks like he's a little bit amped up right now. Had an opportunity to feed it into Savage, just missed the throw.
Connor Wisham, you see him in the backfield and the rest of the skill positions. And Wisham, the leading rusher, nowhere to go with Cal Halliday leading the charge for Michigan State.
The line of scrimmage. As much as there was so much talk about the way that the passing attack for Michigan State grew last week, we referenced the front seven during the open of this show. Want to see that continue. Consistency with how they operate, especially hitting blocks against the run.
Third downs this year, Prairie View 40%. They were 50% last week in their win against the Northwestern State Demons of the FCS Southland Conference. They went 10 of 20 on third downs in that game, and they're going to have an even more difficult third down now.
5-yard penalty, third down.
That's Jason Nickleby. We hear his voice today for the first time on the penalty against the Panthers. And a look now at the Michigan State starting 11 on defense.
Reference Dequan Dowse during the open of the show. He plays with exceptional pad level. And Cal Halliday, when he's not tackling people, he is hitting blocks and setting up everyone at that third level as they run the alley. And Angelo Gross has been exceptional.
There was a question about Ed Woods at corner, but he is available. And this is 3rd and 16. And a catch by Trayshawn Spiller right at the 35-yard line. Passed it by a yard and enough for a first down. A big conversion.
Part of what you're hoping for as a defense is to force the quarterback to funnel the ball into the most difficult space possible. I'd say Michigan State accomplished that. Just Cam Peters threw a perfect ball to Spiller.
Didn't throw a very good ball on his first pass, but an excellent second pass converts a 3rd and 16 on a 17-yard play. And now Halliday tackles Connor Wisham on a 4-yard run on first down.
Cam Peters was not the opening game starter, won a quarterback battle, where Bubba McDowell eventually named him the starter.
And now here's heavy pressure. Jordan Turner applying the pressure, and Peters throws it up for grabs under duress, way past everyone in the secondary.
Bit of a conference from the officials. But right at the snap of the football, this was perfectly timed by Jordan Turner. Protection has to turn. Flag is now out.
Yes. There was a conversation before the decision to drop the penalty flag, and we'll hear presumably intentional grounding.
Intentional grounding. Offense, number 3. Lost it down at the spot of the foul. Third down.
No intended receiver in the area. Quarterback Cameron Peters still in the pocket at that moment, and he's mobile enough where if he's able to recognize that, even if there's an unblocked defender, you'd like to see him try to extend the play laterally to get outside the pocket enough to throw it away.
Prairie View 1-1. Even though they won last week, they had 12 penalties for 124 yards. That's their second already of the game. They've overcome one to convert a 3rd and long, and they're looking for history to repeat itself. They've converted 3rd and 16. They face 3rd and 15. Here's trouble. Ken Talley. He got home.
Talley has been one of the pleasant surprises for this coaching staff. Here he's operating initially over the guard. This is an ET stunt or an exit stunt where the defensive end, the edge player, works towards the inside. That sets up Talley as the looper. As much as he got some reps in training camp, had a little bit of a slow start. He has really gotten his pass rush rolling now.
Just being simply more consistent with his assignments is what defensive coordinator Joe Rossi told us when we spoke to him yesterday. Talley is from Philadelphia and transferred to Michigan State from Penn State. Efren Jasso with the punt. Montori Foster fields it at the 33. And a nice hit in the open field. And that prevents that punt return that looks a little promising from going any farther. Michigan State, a stop on defense led by Ken Talley. They have the ball on offense for the first time after this.
It can save you big at the pump.
History, but focused on
Highlights last week from Aiden Childs in the performance at Maryland. 363 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. There were 3 turnovers, but he finished off a road game against a conference opponent, and Jonathan Smith said yesterday that makes it a great performance, especially all of the bounce backs that Aiden Childs had in the game. Nate Carter will run the ball. Ryan Lindgren, the offensive coordinator, told us yesterday they want to get Nate rolling a little bit more. And he runs the ball here for 8 yards on their first offensive snap of the game, bringing up 2nd and 2. And Carter is part of the starting group for the Spartans offense.
The way he can run it in the backfield, that downhill mentality, will aid the blocking assignments for an offensive line. Big fellas up front, a little bit thin, but they do like to rotate a couple of different bodies through as well.
Brandon Baldwin, the most experienced at Michigan State, with now 18 career starts as of today. Jay Coyne is into the game at fullback. Anthony, we don't see too many fullbacks these days.
All right.
But we've got an old school I formation for 2nd down and 2 for the Spartans. And a missed exchange, bumping into each other, Childs and Carter. And down goes Childs. Jeremiah Harris makes the play on defense, a loss of 4.
So Aiden Childs appeared to turn the wrong way on that run scheme. The offensive line blocked as if it was ISO left. Nate Carter used his footwork as though it was ISO left. Aiden Childs turned around as though it was ISO right. I'm pretty sure Childs was the one who was mixed up there.
Jeremiah Harris, transfer from Kansas State, now in his 4th year playing at Prairie View A&M. The linebacker from Houston made that TFL. Now a short throw and sitting down in front of the defense. Montori Foster found a little pocket of space and has a first down for the Spartans to the Prairie View A&M 45.
He's catching the ball cleanly. It's a big deal. That growth that I referenced from game 1 to game 2, Montori Foster was a big part of that. Seeing a little bit of eye discipline there from Aiden Childs. I believe he manipulated the defense a little bit. You like to see that from a young quarterback. That's a sign of growth.
10th catch of the year for Montori Foster. Fake handoff and a bullet throw to the sideline. The 11th catch of the year for Foster. It's short of a first down, but it keeps Michigan State on schedule against this Prairie View A&M defense. And the starters for Prairie View A&M, beginning with their defensive line, notably Stephen Shaw Jr. and C.J. Presley Jr.
Presley, going to hit blocks, rushing the quarterback. Watch out for Jeremiah Harris. He can be a rusher from the 2nd level with how they operate up front. They rotate a few bodies through on the back end as well.
Defensive coordinator is Alvin Fosselman. Fosselman is nicknamed Coach Rock.
I like it.
Yeah.
My son would love that as well.
Bassoon one tight end in motion, and he blocks for another who caught the pass, Jack Belling. Belling is out of bounds, and the Spartans move the sticks again. They're certainly in Jonathan Kim field goal range now at the 30 of Prairie View A&M.
It's a good sign for Michigan State. Just Jack Belling sort of week after week has been a part of the plan. They haven't gotten it to him quite as frequently. He's operating from the wing position, and as Masunis works across the formation, he becomes the lead blocker for Belling. Nice, easy way to move the sticks.
Masunis, as you said, was blocking, but one thing Brian Lindgren said yesterday is that is that Belling is improving as a blocker. Really at the point of attack. Speaking of point of attack, that's the kind of running style that K'Ron Lynch-Adams has, and he attacks the would-be tackler after a 5-yard pickup.
He just runs with such energy, such anger every time he touches the football. There's a disdain for anyone who deigns to try and tackle K'Ron Lynch-Adams.
Highest broken missed tackle percentage of the Big Ten this season. Lynch-Adams, the transfer from UMass, leads the way. K'Ron Lynch-Adams had over 1,150 yards last year for the Minutemen. And there he is, breaking another tackle. He's continuing to pick up yards after contact. And it's a first down inside the 20. If you're looking for the Minnesota-Nevada game, go to btn.com/gamefinder right now to see where you can find the game in your area. That was a run of 7, following up a run of 5 for Lynch-Adams, leading rusher for the Spartans going into the game this year. Now up at about 160 yards, 2 years at Rutgers, 3 years at UMass, and now East Lansing, Michigan is home for K'Ron Lynch-Adams. And Jay Coyne, the fullback, is a lead blocker, and he blocked well. This run is down to the 11-yard line.
That's the play they wanted to run a few snaps ago where they messed up the mesh point with the ISO and everything else. But look at this finish to the run for K'Ron Lynch-Adams. That first tackler very rarely, if ever, gets him down on the ground. We've seen the wiggle at different points when he gets into the open field, but he is powerful in his lower body. Great contact balance. On that highlight, you saw Kevin Davis Jr., transfer from Northwestern State for Prairie View, try to stick his nose in there and make a tackle, but Lynch-Adams had other ideas. Now Nate Carter is back into the game, and Carter is stood up and still driving at the 7, and Hillman has flown off the head of C.J. Presley Jr., the defensive end who is a transfer from Villanova. Not a good thing for the Panthers defense because he's their most effective block hitter off the edge in their front 7. You can see the approach Michigan State is taking right now, where they want this offensive line to get this thing rolling, be able to get the run game more formidable. Lynch-Adams is back into the game. No problems at the mesh point here. Run inside the 5-yard line. Aiden Jones, who's playing one of the linebacker spots. One starter at linebacker is unavailable for Prairie View due to injury, Warren Schenkel. So therefore, Javen Jackson and Aiden Jones are playing a lot of Mike linebacker. Reference, Mark, how they're a little bit thin up front, but you do see some bodies rotate through. Stanton Ramil in at left tackle right now. He's a fantastic prospect as an offensive tackle, former high school All-American. Got Ashton Lepo at right tackle. And here's a bootleg for Aiden Childs, racing for the corner. Has the corner. Aiden Childs, touchdown on the first drive of the Spartans. A couple of adjectives that would normally describe the Jonathan Smith, Brian Lindgren offense: methodical, efficient. It's not what the Michigan State offense has looked like so far this season, but this drive, opening up against Prairie View A&M, was both of those things. Childs has thrown for 3 touchdowns this season. He's now run for 2 touchdowns. And the extra point from last week's hero, Jonathan Kim, who won the game with a field goal from 37 yards out with 1 second to play, connects on the extra point. And one more look at the Childs touchdown scamper.
Tremendous kick. 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, only on the Big Ten Network.
Football on the Big Ten Network is brought to you by Unleaded 88, Engine Smart, Earth Kind. And by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Sights and sounds of East Lansing, Michigan on a spectacular Saturday afternoon. The other home game was a Friday night against Florida Atlantic, so the first official Saturday of college football here in East Lansing. Anthony, it's a beautiful thing.
And by the way, welcome to Spartan Stadium. I know this is your very first time here, one of the underrated environments in college football.
It is a packed house, and they have been excited about the Spartans today. Off to a 7-0 start as that kickoff goes through the end zone. Next Saturday, Big Ten Tailgate heads to the home of the Sailgate as Mike Hall and Tyvis Powell are on Washington's campus to get you ready for football. The fun begins at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, only on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app.
Spartan defense, they were able to turn the tide. Prairie View had a couple of impressive plays on that initial series.
So here's Cam Peters and zips the ball out to Chris Herron. You'll see him play some Wildcat quarterback as well. He catches and runs to the 31-yard line. A gain of 6 pending this marker that's hit the turf. Second straight start.
Holding. Offense. Number 1. 10-yard penalty. Still first down.
Shamar Savage at wide receiver with the hold on the edge.
The Panthers want to establish tempo. Talking to their offensive coordinator, Anthony Wheaton, he's really hoping that you pick up that first down, and then from there, begin to try and tire out that opposing defense. Right now, the Panthers moving in the wrong direction, though.
And he and head coach Bubba McDowell both said ideally their offense is chaos. Anthony Wheaton said, you know, when another team is bigger, stronger, faster, you want to try to wear them down, and fatigue is a weapon. Here's Trajan Spiller. That's 2 catches today for Spiller. This one picks up the lost penalty yardage and a little bit more, Anthony, back up to the 28-yard line.
Peters, as I referenced, not the opening game starter. Lucas Coley just transferred in from Houston. We started the first game. There was a 3-man QB battle that played out throughout the preseason. Now Peters in the lineup.
And Peters to throw here. And Peters is going to throw deep. Spiller's the intended target, but there's all kinds of coverage down there. And Charles Brantley, who had a key interception last week, nearly with the interception there, but the ball hits the turf. Incomplete pass with 5:19 left in the first.
Well, they went for it all. You got to respect that. Trajan Spiller, he's one of their fastest players that they have at the skill position. Like to see Peters maybe get this football out of his hands a little bit quicker. It did allow some catch-up opportunity for Malik Spencer to come over the top to make the play.
With 2 catches today, Trajan Spiller has 50 catches in his time at Prairie View A&M. And will they throw it his way again? No, this is Chris Herron. And he tried to fight off one tackle, but swarming to the football, the Spartan defense prevents the conversion for Chris Herron in Prairie View.
It's one of the areas on third down, the Michigan State's defense, whether it's been a few missed tackles in key moments, sometimes a penalty flag, has left them on the field there. They went one-on-one on the outside, brought the house. Peters got the ball out of his hands effectively, but you did see a tackle secured by Angelo Gross short of the sticks.
Angelo Gross, leading tackler for the Spartans, so no surprise to see him secure that tackle. Last time, Montori Foster had the longest punt return of the year for Michigan State, 8 yards, off a 49-yard boot by Efren Jasso. And Jasso's second punt. Foster runs up, waves fair catch, makes it at the 33-yard line. That punt was 35 yards for Efren Jasso. Nate Carter and the Spartan offense on the field after this.
On a tense Fansville by Dr. Pepper.
Maryland this week, 11 plays, 60 yards for a touchdown drive against Prairie View. They will move back 5 yards.
Number 65, 5-yard penalty, still first down. Please reset the game clock.
These are important reps for Stanton Ramil. You got a little bit of a jump, just a little bit of an early start at the left tackle. But as you kind of spin this forward toward the future for this redshirt freshman. He'll be a big part of how Michigan State wants to operate, not only for this season, but for the seasons to come with Jonathan Smith and Brian Lindgren's offense.
Jack Velling in motion. Childs a clean pocket on 1st and 15 and overthrows Nick Marsh on that play. All right, let's get an Apple Cup update in the studio. Dave Revson with more.
Mark, it has been a wild one early on in Seattle after Washington State took a 3-0 lead. Will Rogers to a wide-open Giles Jackson, but the Cougs just marched back down and scored. They're now up 10-7 on the Huskies.
Well, one thing that's out of the ordinary there, Washington scoring in the first quarter, which they have not done in their first two games against Weber State and Eastern Michigan. Kayron Lynch-Adams runs out of one tackle. Lower body strength, the way he finishes runs. Both Jonathan Smith and offensive coordinator Brian Lindgren pointed that out yesterday, and you can see him churning, just swarmed under eventually.
As they try to get to the best version of this Spartans offensive line right now, Ramil in at left tackle. Brandon Baldwin has flipped over to the right tackle in this series. We'll see whether or not they get healthy with Christian Phillips. He's been out of the lineup at right guard the entire season so far.
This is 3rd and long. They need 13. Childs has all day to throw, and a great throw to an open tight end, Jack Velling. He is caught from behind by nickelback Terrell Coleman. That goes for 39 yards. Big 3rd and 13 conversion for the Spartans.
This over route by Velling, where he starts in the slot to the short side of the field, and he comes from the boundary all the way, dragging across the formation. Defenders lose sight of him. It was a really clean pocket for the Michigan State offensive line, so they gave Aiden Childs all kinds of time to survey the field, feed a nice, easy ball to his tight end.
Well, mission accomplished early on in terms of Michigan State wanting to get the football more to Jack Velling, who transferred with the coaching staff from Oregon State. Here's a yard pickup on 1st down. Danny Rogers has more down on the field.
Quarterback Aiden Childs is very good at dwelling on a game for just about a day and then getting over it. However, he's never really actually had a name to that concept until his girlfriend Elizabeth told him, hey, that's the 24-hour rule. You have 24 hours to think about the negatives, and then you have to get over it. Childs has been living by that mantra for the last few weeks. Today, he is working on just simplifying everything.
In motion here, Montori Foster and the stretch handoff. Oh, my goodness, that play is blown up. Lynch-Adams on the run. Tiago Sumbo. Big tackle for loss for Sumbo for Prairie View A&M.
On occasion, in that defensive front, have to call them into some movement. That'll aid the way that they don't have to spend the entire game trying to hit blocks, just wrestling at the point of attack with this big Michigan State offensive line. They ran a slant stump. Sumbo able to get into the backfield and make the play.
Sumbo with a jumbo bear hug of Lynch-Adams to bring him down for a TFL. And for the second time on this Spartans drive, it's 3rd down and 13. The last one was converted on a pass to Jack Velling. This one is also converted. It's Nick Marsh who caught it, coming across the field right to left, and is upended inside the 21-yard line of Prairie View.
There need to be a balance to the decisions that have to be made here for Prairie View A&M. No pass rush happening. So this slow developing route, Aiden Childs has all kinds of time to come from read 1 to read 2. Nick Marsh on the in cut, able to pick up that 1st down. He did hobble off the field, though, afterwards.
His 10th catch, 225 yards this year. With that 20 yards on that play added to the number. Obviously a big chunk of it last week. And that thrilling win over the Terps. Montori Foster in motion. Marsh just went off the field. You saw the footage of him on the sideline. There's a throw to Velling along the sideline. It's incomplete. Did not get the required foot down inbounds, bringing up 2nd down and 10.
I like the way Childs is throwing the football, though. Some similarities to last week and this week. There's one high that sailed on him. But looking back here, the tackler comes in low as Nick Marsh is weaving after the grab. So that foot was planted into the ground. See the defender, Keon Jones, make the tackle. Nick Marsh slowly worked his way off the field.
Keon Jones, transfer from Texas A&M Commerce, was also on the coverage on the pass that was ruled incomplete along the sideline for Jack Velling. However, Play is being stopped before the second down snap.
This is a full media timeout.
We will be back with 49 seconds left in the first quarter right after this.
T-Mobile savings, take one.
Guys, focus. Let's not do fake falls. Just say, at T-Mobile, you get tons of...
Here, Anthony.
And it's all about the left foot. That left heel is out of bounds initially. So even though he brings it up into the air to sort of reestablish himself as he's receiving the football, he's out at that point. So there's no ability to just sort of reestablish yourself back in bounds once the officials believe you have run yourself out. So it's the right call. And they got it right in live action.
And now on the final minute of the first quarter, Jonathan Smith and his team have a second down and 10 at Prairie View's 21. Nate Carter. Nate Carter drives for 5, maybe 4.
And here's why I'm highlighting the offensive line so far in this game, because that's going to be the group where I believe the biggest leap will continue to need to happen for Michigan State, to really do something significant with this season. There's a lot of excitement about Aiden Childs, Nick Marsh, what this passing attack can be. But you want this offense to be as complete as possible.
Well, 2 big third down conversions on this drive. And maybe another one. There is another one. Isaiah Johnson also breaks tackles and a score, a touchdown. The story of the drive, converting third downs, and they do it one more time on the 17-yard pitch and catch to Isaiah Johnson.
There's an absolute refusal to go down from everyone who's got the football for Michigan State right now. Add Isaiah Johnson to the list. Only 175 pounds is what he's listed at. Running this one like he's the Nigerian Nightmare. Tackler's just bouncing off of Johnson as he gets into the paint.
The key to ward off the first tackle of Kwame Sarkodie Jr. And after that, he continued to bounce and bang off potential tacklers and bring it into the end zone. And with 7 seconds remaining in the first quarter, the redshirt freshman Isaiah Johnson from Richmond, Virginia, has his second catch of the year. One for 22 earlier, and this one for 17 and a score.
I mean, just check out this finish. First tackler falls away. Second tackler, he eludes, and then it's just him and the goal line and 2 remaining Panther defenders. Isaiah Johnson would not be denied.
And by the way, just a procedural note, and you may see this on the screen. Because the official review occurred of that Jack Belling incompletion, Michigan State has that timeout back. So it was called by Smith, but due to the review that was initiated by the new state-of-the-art replay center for the Big Ten in Rosemont, Illinois, the timeout remains in possession of the Spartans. Bit of a breeze today, so the ball was just blown off the tee. He was at North Carolina. Jonathan Kemp had 1 year where he led all of FBS in touchbacks, and 1 year where he led the ACC in touchbacks. And he knocks that one into the end zone after the Michigan State score, and Prairie View will have it at their own 25. The opening refresh presented by Satva. You deserve a Satva luxury mattress.
Love coming to this stadium.
Yeah. Now that's got to be kind of hot on this day in the low 80s here.
There's always going to be one of those, and usually a few thousand of them. Spartans all over the place.
Dude, it's been a lot of time in the gym recently.
You or the Spartans?
Cam Peters with the pass. I'm always in there, Anthony.
I know.
That is a great pass, by the way. Cam Peters finally connects for the first time today with Shamar Savage for 26 yards. He's got 238 receiving yards this year, but it's the receivers like Isaiah Johnson making big plays for the Spartans.
retirement paycheck for life is a promise that pays off.
How can you be sure you're getting the right deal?
I have to talk to my bestie.
Coach, first scoring drive, you use your rushing attack. Second drive, you go to the air. What is making your offense so balanced right now?
Well, then the run game starts, and then we did a nice job converting on third down. We can still be a little bit more efficient, but to come up first two drives and get scores is huge.
Thanks, Coach.
30 seconds. 4 for 4 on third down, and what's notable, the long third down conversions. There were 2 3rd and 13 conversions on the last drive.
Impressive comfort for Aiden Childs, and a lot of that assisted, of course, by that offensive line. The time he's getting in the pocket to survey the field.
Tight end Chase Medlock is in motion for Prairie View A&M. They had a 26-yard pass to Savage on the last play of the first quarter. Now a run by Scooter Adams from Hallettsville, Texas, and a transfer from Northwestern State. Not much room to run the ball for Adams, number 6.
There's some questions coming in. Well, the local media asked Jonathan Smith about it quite a bit after their big win last week, whether or not he'd have any concerns about his team being focused coming onto the field. We had an opportunity to talk to Coach about that. He said they've had a fantastic week of practice. That focus is showing so far.
The talking points obviously improving with regard to penalties and with turnovers. Those turnovers in the Big Ten in the first 2 weeks, 6. Ball's out quickly from Peters, but it's well off the mark. Pressure from Darius Snow. Tom Izzo, longtime Michigan State basketball coach. Xavier Tillman was part of the group who was honored between the first and second quarter, now an NBA champion. Draymond Green, of course, knows what it's like to win an NBA championship, a few of them. Xavier Tillman, part of the Celtics last year.
One of the all-time greats. And anytime I talk to Tom Izzo, he can't wait to talk football. I'm asking him about hoops. He's asking me about football. He loves his sport.
Just a gain of a yard by Adams on first down. Did an incompletion on second down. Heavy pressure. Throwing it up for grabs. And Brantley came very close to his second interception of the game. Peters was put under pressure by Jordan Hall.
They've been mugging the linebackers in the A-gaps. This time, they end up bringing Jordan Hall all the way around from the edge as a looper towards the interior of the pass protection. You saw the closing speed from that true sophomore. It's part of the reason there was an errant pass from Cam Peters. There was a chance for Chuck Brantley to pick it off.
And the key interception in the fourth quarter that kept points off the board for Maryland last week. 3 career interceptions, making his 18th start today.
Brantley was a little slow to get up, so they subbed in for him on this punt return unit.
1 return, 1 fair catch so far for Montori Foster Jr. Efren Jasso the punt. Fair catch down around the 5-yard line. Got a marker down. The punt went for 42 yards.
During the kick, holding, receiving team, number 44. Half the distance to the goal from the end of the kick. First down, full immediate timeout.
It will be bad field position for the Spartans when we come back here early in the second.
We are always in motion. Getting this, fixing that, arriving to destinations in life and around the globe.
Needed an athletic trainer. An injury scare happened happened at the end of the first quarter after Nick Marsh caught a big first down catch. He limped off the field. He needed an athletic trainer. Here you go. You see him juke a defender, get taken down. He limped off the field, needed an athletic trainer to make his way to the tent where he spent a few minutes. It looks like they wrapped up his right knee a little bit tighter than the left. He is back out on the field and expected to keep going in this game.
Well, certainly that is a welcome addition that he will be able to remain in the game. More on Marsh in a moment. You see him going out to split wide on the left side of the field with Foster in the slot on the left. A good punt and a hold during the punt by Michigan State has them pinned back at the 3-yard line. Childs out of the end zone and floats it past Montori Foster Jr. for an incompletion.
See how Nick Marsh looked his initial route, being back onto the field afterwards. No suddenness necessary. Looks like he's moving okay so far.
Big Stat brought to you by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. 8 receptions, 194 yards last week, and a touchdown for Nick Marsh. And that's why he was the Sean Alexander National Freshman of the Week. Second most receiving yards in a single game ever by a Spartan true freshman. Childs, ball out quickly, and this is close to being picked off. It is incomplete, however. Diving after the interception was Kevin Davis Jr.
This was nearly a catastrophic mistake from Aiden Childs. Davis went out there, able to extend to get his left hand on it, couldn't quite reel it in. He did get a little bit of heat on him that time as well, Aiden Childs, with his feet, his entire body in the end zone at the moment. When you're backed up as an offense, it's an opportunity for the defense to pick up points. In the least, Prairie View A&M, an opportunity to shift the field position advantage.
Looked like the Spartans were going to go empty, but now Nate Carter is in the backfield, and they throw it to the left side, and Foster near the sticks, caught the ball, is pushed back. Play made by Ahmad Robinson, and that tackle, Anthony, left them a little bit short of the first down.
It's a solid tackle made there by Robinson. In live action, it did look like he was just narrowly short of the first down. Far too big a risk to consider trying to go for a fourth down here, assuming the spot stands.
There's Bubba McDowell, head coach for Prairie View, 57 years old, from Fort Gaines, Georgia. 10 seasons as an assistant, third year as the head coach.
Early on the field is short of the line to gain, fourth down.
I think that was a proper call.
And you see Foster come back to the ball here.
Right. And as he catches the football cleanly, and not only does the momentum continue to bring him backwards, and that's where you see the defender secure the tackle from there, but it's about where he actually receives the football, and even as he has it cleanly in flight, he's not at the sticks yet.
Ryan Eckley, big legs, second in FBS this year at just over 50 yards per punt. They could really use a booming punt right now as Eckley is going to field the snap in the end zone. Punts from just outside the goal line. Devon Cooper waving for a fair catch and makes a difficult fair catch. That's back inside the 35-yard line. That's 48 yards on the punt. Prairie View ball after this.
Two.
Experience the expanded Big Ten Conference like never before with Big Ten Plus. Stream thousands of non-televised live events across the Big Ten. Plus, enjoy next-day game replays for every Big Ten game. Subscribe right now at BigTenPlus.com. Scooter Adams, the running back. Cam Peters, the quarterback. This is the fourth time that Prairie View has had the ball. Pass up ahead to Spiller. Good for 8 yards. And now to our Chicago studios and a game update from Dave Repson.
What up, Dave?
All right, Mark. Hey, Ant Platypus Trophy on the line in Corvallis. Dylan Gabriel, you know about the arms, but how about the legs? 54-yard touchdown run, second longest of his career. They went for 2 and got it. Ducks, 15-7.
And, of course, from Corvallis, that's where Jonathan Smith and a lot of the staff that's now on the Spartans coaching staff was for the course of the last 6 seasons. Adams just ran the ball for a first down for Prairie View, and they moved the chains.
Certainly know all about that rivalry, to your point. Well, the coaching staff and players come from Corvallis to here. It's a nice growth opportunity for Prairie View A&M. As a team. That's one thing we were talking to Bubba McDowell about a bit. This week 3 of the season, they've got their conference schedule and SWAC coming up here in the weeks to come.
Matter of fact, they've already played one SWAC game against Texas Southern in the Labor Day Classic. Here's Adams, and Adams, big hole, and then cuts off to the right side. Tripped up by Malik Spencer, but it's a first down to the Spartans' 40-yard line.
One of the most experienced players on this roster, Scooter Adams, showing the vision. Nice little jump cut in the hole and the acceleration at the second level and into the open field. There have been some opportunities here for the Panthers. Been an ill-timed penalty, an errant pass here or there. But they're executing, though. You see the talent.
Officially 16 yards on the run for Adams, who ran for over 1,300 yards in 4 seasons playing in the Southland Conference for Northwestern State. A minute ago, Anthony, you were talking about Bubba McDowell, and when we spoke with him, the 2 names he mentioned as biggest influences, Jimmy Johnson at Miami as college coach, and then Nick Saban, who was his, and of course, you know about Nick Saban here in East Lansing, but he was the DB coach for the Houston Oilers for McDowell's rookie season.
Exceptional playing career for the Hurricanes, putting together a nice career as a college football coach as well.
Played a little bit for the Carolina Panthers after his time with the Oilers. There's Bogle with the tackle there of Scooter Adams.
And for Bubba McDowell to be able to take that influence, the various coaches that he's been around, and the way he's been influenced by some of the greats of the game in years past, imparting that same type of wisdom on this Panthers football team.
When it came to technique of playing DB, it was effusive, Bubba McDowell was, in terms of praise for Nick Saban and what he learned from him about technique. Play clock's winding down here. Down to 2 seconds. Cam Peters has got to get the snap, which he does. And the ball is out down the sideline. Back shoulder throw. And a tough catch is made. Trajan Spiller at the 9-yard line.
Like the way Cameron Peters throws the football. When he's got time to step into it, there's velocity, accuracy, going to the back hip to his receiver, Trajan Spiller. That's nice coverage to be able to fit the football in. Ed Woods is in the hip pocket of Spiller the entire way in a trail position. Pass had to be perfect, and it was.
Oakland's Ed Woods transferred from Arizona State. I mean, he was all over, to your point. That was excellent coverage.
The previous play was a completed catch. That play is under review.
With 9:12 left in the second quarter, for the second time today, a catch along the sideline is under review. Now, the previous play was Michigan State. It was ruled incomplete, and the play stood. This was ruled complete, and so there appears to be firm control of the ball. There's a body part down in bounds. And then the third and final component of the catch, did Trajan Spiller survive the ground?
Yeah, it does look like that one might come back because, as he does, to your point, it initially looks like he's gaining control of the football. One of the things that's impressive about that is the way Ed Woods continues to fight as the pass receiver is on his way down toward the ground. That's the type of finish that you continue to be coached about from the coaching staff, not just giving up on the play. You got Mike Pereira involved in the action here. Mike, it looks to me like there is a move coming to the game as the receiver's starting to come down, but it doesn't look like he was able to complete the process. What do you think?
Yeah, the process does have to end at some point, and that's what they're looking at. Now, he's got control, goes to the ground, and at that point, he just has to, what we kind of call survive the ground. Now, you see when he rolls over, the ball does pop out. Now, what you don't see is really underneath here, does it come loose at that point? And I think that's what they have to be looking at. And again, you have to remember, call on the field was a catch.
So obviously it would take a lot to overturn it. It would take something conclusive, definitive, and Woods, in some regard, the outstanding coverage that he plays turns out to be a hindrance here because it's blocking the ability to see what exactly was happening if he jostled the ball free on that attempt by Spiller to complete the catch and survive the ground.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field of a completed catch stands as called. First down.
So he went with stands there as opposed to confirmed, and that probably makes sense. Really like the way that Ed Woods continued to fight away to continue raking at the football, trying to finish that snap.
Bubba McDowell happy. Offensive coordinator Anthony Whedon, who is in his first year on the staff after being the offensive coordinator for the Fighting Camels of Campbell for the last 2 seasons.
Camels.
That would be tough for a play-by-play guy. Can't do that for a whole game. Connor Wisham is in the backfield. It's been a lot of Scooter Adams running the ball on this drive, including breaking free for 16 yards on one play. With that long pass to Spiller, the play stands. Chris Herron in motion. And on first and goal at the 9, there is a penalty.
Full start. Offense, number 77. 5-yard penalty. First down.
From Westside High School in Houston, Stephen Thomas, the left tackle.
These are the types of mistakes you really can't stand to have as you're trying to stay in this football game. Opportunity to put some points on the board. At least from that angle, didn't see anything significant as far as a flinch from Stephen Thomas.
Both of these coaches talked about self-inflicted wounds being an area of concern right now. Splendid play made in the open field. They were running it on an end around to Chris Herron, and Chris Bogle blew it up for a TFL all the way back to the 20.
Well, it's one thing when you can knock it back at the point of attack. When you're the edge defender, you want to show color up in the backfield. That penetration is what can get it home, because they're hoping that they'll be able to flash across the face of the edge defender quickly enough where Chris Bogle won't be in position to make that play on Chris Herron.
We talked about it at the beginning of the telecast. Anthony, 17 tackles for loss for Michigan State in the first 2 games, and they've had a lot of sacks, and they put Cam Peters under pressure, and he heaves it out of bounds with Jalen Thompson closing fast along the sideline.
This, a look at sort of growth within the game from Cameron Peters, where earlier, as he was under immediate pressure, we saw him just sort of throw the ball away from within the pocket. This time, he does take off and run laterally, extend the play outside the tackle box. That's why you have no flag there for intentional grounding.
They have a good field goal kicker in Guillermo Garcia. And unless they can convert 3rd down and goal from the 20, then Garcia will be called into action. As we approach the midpoint of the second quarter of today's game at Spartan Stadium, 2 long touchdown drives early for Michigan State, and they lead the game 14-0. This was first and goal at the 9. That's turned to 3rd and goal at the 20, and Savage can't hang on to it. Spencer was there on coverage, along with Angelo Gross. And it's 4th down and goal to go, and a 37 or 38-yard field goal will be the play here.
Joe Rossi having to work deep into the depth chart of this Michigan State secondary, but Malik Spencer has played a lot of football. Angelo Gross already proven as one of the top safeties in the Big Ten Conference. If you're going to attack anywhere on this field, you might want to go somewhere else beyond those 2 safeties.
This year, 6 of 6 on field goals for Guillermo Garcia. Long of 47. This is 37. Garcia was a kicker at Oklahoma Baptist before transferring to Prairie View A&M. Oh, and it's off the upright. 7:43 left and empty-handed for Prairie View on that possession.
The effort. He's trying to work his way through the guard tackle gap. He's not quite getting penetration. Leaps up into the air, and that's a dangerous spot to be in. Leaning on a couple of offensive linemen. Vogel exposed himself. They took advantage of it, but he was, as you said, able to leave the field under his own power.
Ron Lynch-Adams into the backfield and then wrestled down by Dante Hunter, that is, for the tackle. Transfer from Purdue and from Ohio to Prairie View. It's still nothing on the board in terms of points for Prairie View. Guillermo Garcia didn't have just quite enough draw on that right to left angle field goal, and it glanced off the outside of the upright from 37 yards. Run of 5 for Ron Lynch-Adams, and they will call his number again, and finds next to nothing in terms of room.
Michigan State is going with the multi-tight end sets. Up to this point, they haven't been able to threaten Prairie View A&M vertically coming from those formations. So right now, there's a big run focus from the Panthers defense.
Gain of a yard on 3rd and 4. Thirds have been mighty good today to the Spartans. And Childs thinking pass now finally makes the decision to tuck it under, and a nice block by Lynch-Adams freed him to scoot up the sideline and pick up the first down, Anthony.
Like this decision from Aiden Childs. He's had success so far this season as a runner, certainly, but it's not a huge part of his DNA. He's not someone who looks to take off and run with the football. Gets called into movement, occasionally gets called into QB runs. But as opposed to putting the football in harm's way, decides to tuck it, move the chains in a very safe and efficient manner.
Ryan Lindgren did tell us yesterday that they are working with him on understanding situations of when to tuck it and go, when to throw it away, and tucking it and going. The right decision there. And again, a great block by Lynch-Adams, who may have a chance to run the ball. Nope, Childs will keep, will roll, will throw. Intercepted. Intercepted here by Prairie View A&M. There's also a marker down. There's a return here on this play for Cameron Amayo, who had the interception. Childs was under pressure from Chester Trafford from Western Carolina and Idaho State, a transfer. Amayo has an interception. But there is a discussion here to see whether or not this play will stand as the first turnover of the game.
It's a really bad decision in live action from Aiden Childs.
There are multiple fouls on the play, one against each team. Ineligible downfield. Offense, number 66. Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense, number 91. Those fouls offset will replay first down.
Very fortunate for the Spartans.
The penalty on Ashton Lepo and the interception are negated by the roughing the passer on Chester Trafford.
Been an injury-plagued season so far for Ashton Lepo. But you see as Aiden Childs is extending the plays, looking down the field, there's no reason to force that ball. Ill-advised hit on Aiden Childs. Yes, you want to chase the quarterback, you love the hustle, but at a certain point you have to recognize when you need to pull off. It's a potential takeaway thwarted.
Here's Nick Marsh on the jet sweep. Marsh turns it upfield and has this to the 40-yard line. Running play of 8, Cameron Franklin among those, along with C.J. Presley, part of that tackle.
Liking the misdirection where the interior run game hasn't been as effective in recent series from Brian Lindgren. Now you are seeing him utilize the ability to get outside the tackle box, to run laterally, try to loosen that defense up a bit.
Marsh, of course, made a huge impact last week catching the ball. and then an opportunity to run, and that went for 8 yards. And a huge hole here. Nate Carter, downfield block from Montorie Foster Jr., and Carter turns on the Jets, and he will score! Nate Carter with a house call! And it's a touchdown for the Spartans to extend the lead, 60 yards on the run.
Thread the defense laterally on the previous snap. It just slows up the over-the-top pursuit that much more. Nate Carter pressed the hole for a bit. Out in the open field. Let's check Montorie Foster, just waiting, making sure that stalk block is going to be in perfect position. That allows his teammate to get into the open field. And from there, it's tail lights for number 5.
Montorie Foster Jr. took on Freddie Bird III on that block. And that was the last thing that Carter needed to run it in. It's 21-0. We're back in 30 seconds.
Hey, guys.
Pacific only on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. The Huskers are 7-1 this year. They're playing Wichita State in a game in the Nebraska Classic today at the Devaney Center. They beat Arizona State. Nebraska did in 3 sets last night. Only loss this year was in Dallas at Moody Coliseum against SMU. Kickoff, Jonathan Kim way down into the end zone. 4:45 left in the second quarter. We just saw Nate Carter score on a 60-yard touchdown run.
Just lovely blocking. They've got one of their backup tight ends, Tyneil Hopper, comes in at fullback. He's playing that sort of H-back role, but then also the point of attack sealed nicely by Michael Masunis. They created a gaping hole that Nate Carter was able to take advantage of. Been waiting to see him get out the gate. He certainly did on that touchdown run.
And we're talking about a player with 107 yards in the first 2 games, running for 60 on that play. Nate Carter. Yesterday during walkthrough, Tyneil Hopper, transfer from Boise State in his second year here, was working in that formation and helped spring him. And then nowhere to go for Lamaje McDowell. Maverick Hansen hit him just past the line of scrimmage. A short pickup, maybe 2, with 4.5 minutes left here on the first half for Prairie View.
I was really anticipating that we'd see even more tempo from Prairie View A&M than we've seen so far, and that might be a different type of test for this Spartans defense. They really haven't been able to get their tempo going.
45 games at Michigan State for Maverick Hansen, who made that play on first down. Going low to make a tackle on second down. Anthony Jones, Cal Holiday, or Halliday that is. That went for 3.
It was a big third down stop Michigan State's defense came up with late in the game last week. Halliday didn't make the tackle, but he shot into the backfield, picked off the lead blocker, set his teammates up to make the stick. Just an all-around exceptional linebacker.
3rd and 5. 4-man rush and thrown away, and this is going to be an easy pick 6. There is a marker down, but the score by Brantley, I mean, he had absolutely no one in front of him when he intercepted and then ran it into the end zone. However, there is a marker down here with 3.5 minutes remaining in the first half.
Contact to the head, defense number 15. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot, automatic first down.
There have been 2 interceptions, one by each quarterback today, negated by roughing the passer.
They called this one on the elder statesman, Angelo Gross. He did get that right arm up to the helmet of Cameron Peters. A free rusher coming off the edge. And it's that sort of no man's land where you're thinking about maybe going up to try and block the pass or deflect it. It was just sort of in that gray area. Ends up hitting the QB in the helmet. So as opposed to a pick 6, now it's an easy first down for the Panthers.
Up to the 45-yard line. A huge penalty. Lamaje McDowell Transfer from Campbell followed Anthony Wheaton, the offensive coordinator, to Prairie View A&M. Hand and glove fit. Anthony Wheaton told us when we talked to him on Thursday about McDowell coming to Prairie View.
There's a delicate balance because if Prairie View began going tempo here and things didn't work out well, then you give the football back to Michigan State with an opportunity for them to maybe pick up another score. But tempo is a part of their personality on offense. Just surprised we haven't seen it more.
McDowell, nowhere to go. Well done inside by Quindarius Dunnigan. Dunnigan had 17 TFLs in his last 2 seasons at Middle Tennessee State before transferring to the Spartans. There's big number 99.
Some of the additional depth that transfers in here to East Lansing. They do like to roll bodies up front. You get into their sub package. Ken Talley and Kyle Halliday lined up next to each other.
Jordan Hall is in. Jalen Satchel is in. And the pressure gets to Cam Peters. Another flag is down, however. Wayne Matthews III, who was playing at home last week, Largo, Maryland.
Personal foul, face mask, defense, number 11. That's a 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic, first down.
On Tally.
So now this is getting into one of the issues that Michigan State had through the first couple of games of the season. It's definitely a face mask on Ken Talley, reaching out, trying to get off the block. As you do that, reach out, grab the face mask of the QB. But penalties have been a huge issue. Even though Michigan State has been 2-0 so far this season, that victory they had last week against Maryland was marred by all the penalty flags thrown on the Spartans.
Look at that, 11 penalties per game, third in FBS, 120 penalty yards per game, second in FBS. We're at the 2-minute timeout now. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, only on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. One of the most passionate fan bases, the Nebraska Cornhusker faithful, and their team is ranked for the first time in 5 years, 23rd in the AP poll after beating Colorado handily last week. Matter at hand right now is Michigan State in front 21-0, but Prairie View A&M pushed forward by 2 penalties. One roughing the passer, one a face mask. There's a pass complete to Spiller. This is the Big Ten, represented by Ohio State at 3. One team in the top 5, and Penn State, Oregon, USC, Michigan, and there are the Huskers.
Nebraska being at 23, their fan base was hopeful about that. There's talk of a 7-0 start that I've been hearing for a month now. The reality could be here soon enough. No question about the quarterback position for the Huskers, whereas for Northwestern, David Braun decided to make a change. You'll see Jack Lausch getting his first start on the Big Ten Network tonight of the season.
Matt Rule knows how to build programs. Temple and Baylor are now doing it at Nebraska. And here's a pass out into the left side, and it's incomplete for running back Connor Wisham. Wisham had a chance to make the catch and turn something positive out of that, but it's going to bring up 3rd down and 3.
Rough couple of plays here this series for Connor Wisham. Missed a pass protection opportunity on that sack. It did end up being a penalty on Michigan State that picked up a first down. Now he was one-on-one in the open field if he could make that grab.
The Panthers have had a drive into scoring territory that ended with a missed 37-yard field goal. Right now they're at the 33 on 4th and 3. Running play Wisham hit in the backfield by Cal Halliday, but fought through that ankle tackle. And this time Wisham gets the job done for Prairie View A&M, converting on 3rd and 3, a gain of 6. Timeout has been called with 1:07 left in the half, and we're back in 30 seconds.
When you're a small business owner, your to-do list can be a lot. Progressive makes it easy to see it.
Timeout called by Prairie View A&M, playing a Big Ten team for the first time. They are 0-12 all-time against FBS opponents. 0-11 since 2009. The closest games for Prairie View A&M against FBS opponents, losing by 3 to Rice in 2018, by 3 to New Mexico State in 2009. Meanwhile, Michigan State 8-0 all-time against FCS opponents. They beat Richmond last year. Their closest FCS game was a 15-point win over Furman in 2016.
That was a look at Anthony Wheaton, the offensive coordinator for the Panthers, directing traffic.
Rowdy Goodwin is in as a blocking tight end, but now he's flexed out here, and Peters is looking down the right side and throwing it in the direction of Goodwin, but this one's intercepted in the end zone. This is not coming back like the last one did for Chuck Brantley, and he's got a lot of room to run. He intercepted in the end zone. He's running all the way across the field, trying to run it all the way down the field, looking for 100 yards, and he has done it! Incredible! Was not going to be denied. His pick six, a penalty turned one over earlier in the quarter, but from one end zone to the other, Brantley scores for the Spartans.
Thing of beauty, launching himself up into the sky to high point the football. Chuck Brantley, who lost a touchdown just a moment ago, was smelling the end zone the entire way. He had a convoy of Spartans out in front. As he cut it back against the grain, he barely had any legs left to be able to get the distance.
Nakai Martinez and Armorion Smith were part of the convoy to throw two key blocks. And then we see, did the ball cross the plane before the knee goes down? Hard to tell there. Certainly, I don't think there's anything there that would overturn that 100-yard interception return.
Well, here, that's what you want a defensive back to do, to high point the football when the opportunity is there. And you immediately go into this interception drill. You work this every week in practice with teammates, forming a wall. That convoy of green jerseys picking up blocks. His legs almost gave out on him. They pretty much did. But I do believe he just narrowly lands in the end zone.
That's in there, baby. That's a touchdown. Wisham came so close to a face mask. I don't think he actually grabbed the face mask. So the knee's down. The ball's over to me. The ball's broken the plane.
Well, the important thing, of course, is it was ruled a touchdown on the field in live action. And to your point, for anyone wondering at home, yes, a near face mask, but the oncoming tackler, in this case, Connor Wisham, was grabbing more around the front of the jersey. It didn't look like he really got a good piece of the face mask there. As Brantley is cutting it back against the grain, working over the middle of the field. I thought he was in for sure at that point when he cut it back and made the move on the offensive lineman. So you got to respect the effort of Prairie View A&M. They didn't want to make it easy on him. Cameron Peters initially colliding with several Spartans. Armorion Smith, one of them.
Yeah, got to be so happy for him to have a role in that play, and we'll have more later today on Armorion Smith. Obviously, everyone who is a diehard fan of Michigan State and close to the program knows the tragedy that young man has been through. He helped plow the road, so did Nakai Martinez. Charles Brantley, not only a fourth-quarter interception last week, but also a key stop on third down and then a missed field goal.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field of a touchdown stands as called.
You don't see it every day. 100 yards on the interception return. Charles Brantley.
Well, he'll get credited with 100 yards. That was a good 350, 400 yards. By the time he's deep in the end zone, he starts in one hash, comes all the way across the field outside the opposite numbers, then cuts it back yet again with tacklers draped all over him. That's a half marathon at least.
He left it all out there. And then in the aftermath, a doink on the extra point. But what a play by Brantley.
I'm your...
Four interceptions by the Michigan State secondary this year. They went into today's game -3 in turnovers for the year. Only had 11 interceptions defensively over the last 2 seasons combined. But the most impactful one, a 100-yard pick six for Charles Brantley. Yvonne Cooper on the kickoff return. Up to the 19 and down on a hard hit. Anthony, I know as a former defensive player, you cannot get enough of watching this, can you?
The scenario like this, way back in my day, we would immediately look for the quarterback to try and take him out. You're not allowed to do that anymore, so you become a blocker. You look for an opposite colored jersey to pick up a legal block, and by the end of it, there's more twists and turns than a theme park roller coaster. Here's Charles Brantley working his way into the paint.
And Brantley, to his credit, is back out on the field to play corner here with Prairie View on offense again from the 19-yard line with 37 seconds remaining in the first half. 100 yards on the return.
My hamstrings tightened up just watching that for the 5th time. I don't know how he's on the field right now.
Again, great blocks by Armorion Smith and Nakai Martinez. Got a tackle here on the Lamaje McDowell run, tackled by Chris Bogle. Also, a player is down here, limping off here for Prairie View A&M. That's their center. Born in Brazil and then high school in Tompkins, Texas, Pedro da Silva, redshirt freshman.
Holding that left arm, you see him doubled over in pain there. This will certainly test the depth of PV.
And they really only played 6 guys on their O-line in their win last week over Northwestern State, which went down to an untimed down at the end of the game because of a penalty on what was the final snap of the game. Northwestern State had a first and goal at the 1-yard line on the final play of the game, and Prairie View A&M had a goal line stand and got out of Natchitoches, Louisiana with a 6-point win. And they're not even going to snap the ball again. 27-0. That's the lead for the Spartans at halftime. Aiden Childs has had a touchdown run today, also a touchdown pass. Nate Carter, a 60-yard run. But the most explosive play, you see him celebrating it still, Charles Brantley with the 100-yard pick six. Wow.
Aside from a few ill-timed penalty flags, a very efficient first half for Michigan State. You can tell the approach. They wanted their offensive line to really take over.
They had 27 points last week, 27 at the half today. Danny Rogers with Jonathan Smith.
Coach, Charles Brantley's first pick six is called back for a roughing passer penalty. How did that second pick six redeem this defense a little bit?
Well, yeah, that's pretty dynamic. I mean, 2 huge red zone stops right there. Chuck seeing the ball well, playing the ball well. I was really happy for him to make that kind of play.
You completely turned Prairie View's offense into one-dimensional, just allowing 14 rushing yards. What's the number one emphasis in your run defense right now?
Well, we want to make it physical and be in the right spots. You want to take one side of the offense away. We've done a good job of it this first half. We've got to go finish in the second half.
Thanks, Coach.
He told us yesterday how they've handled adversity in the first 2 games has been a highlight for me. They haven't had as much adversity today, but they have had some special plays, and it's allowed the Spartans to build a 27-0 halftime lead over Prairie View A&M. Stressed to us yesterday, Anthony, is they like the explosive plays in the pass game of the points scored last week. So they were looking for explosives in the run game today, and they're seeing some traction being gained in that department.
They've certainly gotten the explosive run going here. Nate Carter, who really hadn't gotten out of first gear through the first couple of games for Michigan State this season, he was able to get into the open field. But there's been an approach for this offensive line today. They've certainly wanted to get their run game untracked. The attitude that K-Ron Lynch-Adams has been running the football with has been exceptional. And Nate Carter, who is as battering as any back in the Big Ten, he continues to be a guy who, when you give him an opportunity to run through defenders, he's willing to do it. That time it was nice to see him with a big, long touchdown run.
Time for the first half check-in, sponsored by Allstate and Michigan State. 223 yards and a little bit more of those on the ground compared to in the air. 5 of 6 on third downs. Michigan State's had a couple of very long third down conversions, 3 of 13 in this game. And red zone efficiency was an area that was brought up to us yesterday as well. And after going 3 of 7 in the red zone in terms of scores and just 2 of 7 for touchdowns in the first 2 games, they're 2 for 2 in the red zone. Kickoff by Prairie View A&M's Guillermo Garcia to start out the third quarter. Taking a knee in the end zone is K-Ron Lynch-Adams. Down the field, Danny Rogers with some perspective from the Prairie View side of the equation.
Coach Bubba McDowell told me he wants to see his rushing offense get going. That means his entire offense needs to block better. They need to sustain those blocks so Michigan State defenders aren't shooting through the gaps. I asked Coach McDowell if he had a battle cry. He said there is no battle cry needed. Just stop throwing into coverage and limit the penalties.
Well, the biggest play of the half was a throw into coverage by Cam Peters that Charles Brantley intercepted and ran back for 100 yards. Masunas, the tight end. Michael Masunas with the catch. 2 this year, 1 last year, and then add another to his total.
The tight end position has been, when you look back to the time that Smith and Lindgren spent at Oregon State, Jonathan Smith at Washington before that as a play caller, offensive coordinator on Chris Peterson's staff. The tight end position has always been a big part of the way they've operated. That's why Jack Velling joined them from Oregon State here. You see Michael Masunas so far this season having a big role as a pass receiver.
Number 13, 5-yard penalty, second down.
That's tight end Adamola Filet. They've worked 5 different, at least 4 tight ends onto the field today. And a fullback as well. Jake Coyne was out there again.
Lindgren describes this as a pro-style offense. It's a part of where you see the quarterback under center. You'll see a variety of multi-tight end sets, outside zone run schemes.
And Anthony, he did tell us yesterday they have 13 personnel sets in their playbook. That's a roll and throw by Aiden Childs to Montori Foster Jr. And right up at the first down marker, and it is a chance to move the sticks at the 35.
There's Brian Lindgren right there. And now he's got that coach-to-player communication where he can talk directly to his QB, Aiden Childs, be in his ear all the way up until there's 15 seconds remaining on the play clock. So that 2-minute drill they had last week against Maryland, that was really vital.
Yeah, they were singing Aiden Childs' praises on both of those 2-minute drills. One for a field goal at the end of the first half and at the end of the game. Long time to throw, finally flushed from the pocket and thrown out of bounds. Heavy pressure by Fred Stokes Jr., 6'6" defensive end who transferred to Prairie View from Central Michigan.
Look at these tight ends from Jonathan Smith, who played in the National Football League. Luke Musgrave, most recent one, currently with the Green Bay Packers. It's Tegan Quintoriano, the 5th round of the Texans. Jack Velling projected to be a tight end who ends up in the National Football League. He's got that type of game, certainly a skilled football player.
It had been a long time between offensive snaps for Michigan State here at the beginning of the third quarter. They hadn't had an offensive snap since the touchdown run by that man right there, Nate Carter. And Carter blast on the right side for 8 yards, bringing up a 3rd down and short.
Love the burst of Nate Carter. He can get to top gear in really quick fashion. And what we've seen today, we're still not seeing the overall dominance. We're not seeing the line of scrimmage moving with a ferocious advantage to Michigan State, but they are maintaining blocks better. You have to be able to run your feet on contact as an offensive lineman, as a tight end. fullbacks that they've been using throughout the game. You collide with a defender, run your feet through them.
Carter looking to add to the 84 yards he has today on the ground and does so. Enough for a first down. And then the rugby scrum starts to ensue, but they needed 2. He picked up 4, and the chains move again.
Certainly got a couple of experienced players up front. There's no doubt about that. But as a unit, especially where this run scheme is now just a bit different than what they were doing before, it's a duo look. A double team there, one puller coming around to the backside. Just enough to move the chains.
And like so many offensive lines in college football, maybe players with a lot of experience, but not necessarily playing together. Here's Carter to the outside and cut down along the sideline. A play made by Bryce Turner, one of the safeties for Prairie View A&M, but Carter picks up about 5 on that. Well, he's closing in on 100 yards today, and again, that was a point of emphasis yesterday from Brian Lindgren. More opportunities for Carter in the run game.
Well, he's been a runner who works to get every ounce out of every run throughout his career. Hasn't always been blocked well at the point of attack for Nate Carter since he's been here in East Lansing.
From East Lansing, he was 2 years before at UConn. Here is a play action and a long throw, and Isaiah Johnson already has 1 touchdown catch today. And that's a deep grab down to the 15-yard line, going for 33 yards.
Gorgeous ball from Aiden Childs.
Isaiah Johnson down to the 15, Anthony.
Defense was in position. You mentioned the run action in the backfield. Aiden Childs hasn't had much duress on him in the pocket, but one-on-one, Isaiah Johnson. The defender is in off coverage, but this slot fade off the delay. He works outside the hash marks. Not a lot of separation there, but Childs fits it in.
It fits it in very nicely. And now we see Jay Coyne is the fullback in the eye. And here's a quick pass. A nice grab, cutting in. And down goes Nick Marsh inside the 10 of the 8. 3 yards shy of a first down. Another well-executed drive that we're watching unfold before our eyes.
With Nick Marsh, I mean, the variety of ways they use him really showcases the fact that he was here during the spring with this coaching staff, already beginning to learn the playbook at that point. And it also showcases a level of maturity. They've been talking about how his determination, his focus has really been improving in recent weeks, the workmanlike attitude he brings.
And off K'Ron Lynch-Adams ran out of the first tackle, but not the second on a 2nd down and 3 play. All down by Aiden Jones. There's Jones from Crosby, Texas, getting up off the bottom of the pile. I liked what Brian Lindgren said yesterday about Nick Marsh. Great at contested routes, catching balls at contested routes. That will be a conversation for later. There's a player down right now, Gavin Brocious for Michigan State.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play.
You're going to see a defensive lineman, Fred Stokes, come up behind him here.
It's always one of the main concerns. I can understand the frustration there from Brocious. You're entangled with a defender, that pile of bodies.
A roll and a throw and bobbled and incomplete, looking for Velling. Flag is down. Brocious and Dallas Fincher have been sharing a lot
Offside.
of the workload at right guard.
Defense, number 22, lined up in the neutral zone. Half the distance to the goal results in a first down.
That opportunity between Fincher and Brocious being shared because Christian Phillips has been out with an injury so far this season. Got an early jump there before the snap of the football.
Terrell Coleman. And that penalty moves the chains and sets up first down and goal at the 4-yard line for the Spartans. They've had workmanlike drives and big explosive plays today. And There's a marker down. There was a tackle made. Bryce Turner had fought off a block and made a very fine defensive play around the 5-yard line. Whether or not it stands remains to be seen.
It looked like a really nice play by Turner to me.
Just past 5 minutes elapsed here in the third quarter.
Every once in a while, you'll see the officiating crew have some indecision about that outside defender coming in and taking the legs out of an offensive blocker, but I don't think that's what this was.
There are fouls against both teams. Personal foul, tripping, defense, number 19. That will be penalized half the distance to the goal and an automatic first down. After the play was over, personal foul, late hit, offense, number 66. That will be enforced 15 yards. It will be first and 10.
So penalties on Bryce Turner and Ashton Lepo for the Panthers and Spartans, respectively.
Okay, that's fair.
That's the first penalty.
Then Ashton Lepo finishing the block all the way out of bounds, which you do want to see your lineman finishing the block, but he's got to know he's outside the playing surface at that point. Keep everyone out of harm's way there.
And it is, for clarification, as announced by Jason Nickleby, first and 10. This is not first and goal at the 17. It's first and 10 at the 17. For the Spartans, stepping up, Aiden Childs. Marker down, runs the ball, has a chance to score, dives for the end zone. You love the effort. He leaps for the end zone. Not sure whether or not he actually got in. There hasn't been a signal, but
Holding.
The play's coming back anyway.
Offense, number 53. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Left tackle Brandon Baldwin from Southfield A&T High School in Detroit.
Baldwin, after the snap of the ball, defender spins inside. Essentially, as opposed to giving up a clean hit to the blind side of your QB, reaches out, tugs away at the defender, Fred Stokes. Nice effort here from Aiden Childs.
Great effort.
Still not first and goal, but first and really far away from a touchdown.
First and 20 from the 27 for the Spartans. And looking to chip away, and they don't even do that in terms of getting back yardage as the pass on the perimeter is dropped by Montori Foster.
You see Aiden Childs kind of tapping at his own chest right there, kind of giving him the my bad. Ball did hit Montori Foster in the hands. First game of the season, Montori Foster had a few issues coming up with a couple of catches there. Both he and Childs responded really well in the second game of the season. The entire team from Michigan State dominating action here up to this point.
Galvanizing win last week. Jonathan Smith said we can really reinforce some messaging with what happened last week, rallying from trailing 3 different times to win the game at Maryland. Go to K'Ron Lynch-Adams. Adams is hit from behind and driven forward. Fred Stokes hit him around the 20, but defenders and his own momentum push him forward to the 15-yard line.
I like the presence of mind shown by Aiden Childs there because you're rolling to the wide side of the field, Marcus, so there's time to be able to decide which level of available pass catcher he wants to feed the football to. It's different when you're rolling to the boundary side. You've got to be quicker and more decisive with where you throw the football. That time, he allowed the defense to get deeper, and that set up K'Ron Lynch-Adams.
Well, that's a significant play because third down just became a lot more manageable from 2nd and 20 to now 3rd and 8 on the check down throw to K'Ron Lynch-Adams for 12 yards. And here's Childs putting it up, and that is on the money, but at the last second a play is made. Nate Carter looked like that was about to settle softly in his hands, but it's broken up by linebacker Robert Edmondson at the last second. Last chance saloon to break it up, and Edmondson does it.
This was intended for awesome, but just misses the mark. Just a lovely little feathery pass from Aiden Childs. Great effort from Robert Edmondson.
Well, Jonathan Kim hit 2 huge field goals last week. One at the end of the first half and one to win the game. And now from 33 yards for the transfer from North Carolina. On the money. 30-0. Michigan State leads the game. They were close to scoring another touchdown, but Edmondson punched it free.
Solved.
There was a special ceremony today at halftime to induct the 1965 and 66 Michigan State football teams, national championship winners, into the Michigan State Hall of Fame. A very special day and a special team. Duffy Daugherty, the head coach of those two teams. Michigan State was very much in the 60s on the cutting edge of the integration of college football, where some teams were introducing a small number of black players onto their teams. Michigan State had 20 black players, 11 starters. They had an incredible win over Notre Dame, one of the games along with Texas and Arkansas and Nebraska and Oklahoma deemed as game of the century when they beat Notre Dame. And the captain of that team in 1966, Clinton Jones, who played in the NFL, is with Danny Rogers down on the field.
Yeah, I've got Mr. MSU himself. Clinton, we talked about it. Your name has been up in these rafters in the Hall of Fame for over 10 years now. How special is it to have your 1965 and 66 teams in the Hall of Fame with you now?
It's a dream come true, because I could have not accomplished anything without the support of my brothers. So for them to be in here together, that's like it's like that impossible dream. They deserve it, and I contribute my accomplishments to my teammates, my brothers, and the good arms.
You've been able to be with two of your former teams here all weekend long, celebrating the accomplishments of those national championship teams. What's been the happiest part about this weekend?
Just being with them, and having their contribution acknowledged. It's I could have never dreamed that the energy and the happiness that this brings, because we don't know if we're going to be here next year. So to be here now and to be finally received the accolade that they so deserving of, it's just amazing, and it warms my heart, and it's actually bringing the past into the future. So it's great for Michigan State, it's great for the country, and the story about what we accomplished needs to be something that needs to be nationally known, rather than just an urban legend within our community here. Because what we did was open up a new era in America through our diversity and through our brotherhood.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Clinton.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Great stuff from Danny and Clinton there. A lot of ways to tie that in, especially to this game here. It's special that day, that team being honored while a historically black college is here on the field.
First opportunity for Michigan State to play an HBCU team in one of their non-conference games. Trajan Spiller with a catch on third down up to the 40-yard line. You get emotional hearing what Clinton Jones said, Anthony, because sports is oftentimes a bellwether for change in society, and Michigan State football in the 1960s was at the forefront of that, because, again, while there were some instances of integration in college football, it was happening much more slowly. There were unwritten quotas and just a few black players on many teams. But for Duffy Daugherty and those Michigan State teams, it was something that they were at the cutting edge of in terms of integrating the sport.
A relationship between Alan Haller, the Michigan State athletic director, and Tom Goff, the Prairie View A&M AD, because Goff was here at Michigan State University years ago working in the football program, so their pre-existing relationship, their knowledge of each other was a part of where this game got set up, where Michigan State was set to play Louisiana as opposed to Prairie View A&M. So when the opportunity opened up for a new opponent, a fresh opponent, and to combine that with honoring one of the historic trend-setting teams in college football history, everything came together really well for this date.
It's a 2nd down and 5 now for the Prairie View A&M Panthers. Lamaje McDowell is tackled on the backfield for a loss. Historically black colleges and universities have produced notable NFL greats. 22 former HBCU players made 53-man rosters this year. Bud Anthony, Jerry Rice, Walter Payton, Michael Strahan, Ed Too Tall Jones, Steve McNair, Donald Driver, Buck Buchanan. The award for the best defensive player in FCS named for Buck Buchanan.
Right, I mean, the Walter Payton Award, the Jerry Rice Award, you name it, some of the luminaries in the history of black college football who've not only had success at the amateur level, but gone on to Hall of Fame caliber, and in some cases, many cases, Hall of Fame careers as pros.
Here's Peters throwing, and Spiller trying to convert another 3rd down. This is going to be right at the 50, and I think enough to move the chains. Yeah, it will be another 1st down for Prairie View. We talked to Bubba McDowell earlier this week, and we asked him about what it means to him that he's coaching in an HBCU. His former Houston Oilers teammates like Chris Dishman, Eddie Robinson Jr., Eddie George are doing the same. I believe this play may be under review for the spot. Yeah, so there's a review here for the spot of this play. We will continue to discuss Bubba McDowell and also have the results of this review of this ball down at the 50-yard line right after this. Stay tuned.
We want it all. We want beards and lattes.
Great.
Gain on a catch by Trajan Spiller. They ruled him at the 50 and a 1st down on the field, but replay has been involved.
After the session, it was determined that the runner was short of the line to gain. It'll be 4th down.
Well, Bubba McDowell has sent his offense onto the field with 4:26 left in the 3rd quarter. 4th and inches. Lamaje McDowell is the running back. At tight end, Ethan John.
Somebody find Cal Halliday.
And then McDowell, marker down, 1st down picked up, but a penalty flag thrown right in the middle of the line where something negative for Prairie View may have happened.
Holding, offense, number 72, 10-yard penalty, 4th down.
Left guard, Caden Bowers from North Mesquite High School in the Dallas area.
At that left guard position, gets into the defender, engages him at first, but you see that pad level that Jordan Turner attacks the gap with. That's where you put an offensive lineman in a really difficult position where you can get under his pad level, and then he's forced to either drop his pad level to stay with you, or sometimes they just reach out and hold like happened there with Bowers.
And it was a run for McDowell to convert the 1st down, but the holding penalty negates that and forces an obvious punting situation for Efren Jasso. A little bit of a rush, but he got it away. Line drive, it's rolling. It's still rolling. And finally going to be downed at the 11-yard line with 3:50 left in the 3rd quarter. Michigan State in front 30-0 over Prairie View A&M. From the Southwestern Athletic Conference. They have won the Western Division of the SWAC in 2 of the last 3 years, but then lost in the SWAC title game. Their marching band is the Marching Storm. Prairie View, Texas is northwest of Houston. Enrollment, almost 9,500 students at Prairie View A&M.
It's a school that's been accustomed to winning, a program. It's got a proud tradition, a fan base that's extremely, extremely passionate. Got to call a lot of HBCU football games over the years. You stay there for the halftime show. Do not leave your seats.
Tommy Schuster from North Dakota for the last 5 years is now in the game at quarterback for Michigan State and gives the ball to Kayron Lynch Adams. And Adams, this running play, doesn't pick up a 1st down, but very, very close. There's Schuster, who threw for over 9,000 yards and 63 touchdowns. Also had 5 rushing touchdowns the 9,000 yards, a program record for North Dakota. He played 45 games. 42 of those games for Tommy Schuster were starts, and he's back home in Michigan. He's from Macomb Township.
Throws with great anticipation, really accurate passer. And he's played more college football than anyone else in that QB room.
And now he's got the Spartans at 2nd down and 1 after the nice run by K'Ron Lynch-Adams. And another opportunity, and Lynch-Adams easily picks up the first down. And then he's hit low by Terrell Coleman Jr. and from behind by Javen Jackson on the tackle.
That ability for the offensive line to be able to take this game over. You want the O-line to stay locked in. You want these running backs to continue imposing their will on the Panthers defense. There's a certain attitude you have to have as conference play approaches.
Again, another moment for Jake Coyne at fullback in this I formation for Michigan State. And Schuster's first pass is a Spartan. He's got a long time to throw and goes to the fullback, Jake Coyne, for a first down. From Bronxville, New York, played 4 games at defensive end last year, and now Jake Coyne is on the stat sheet as an offensive player with the catch and the pickup for a first down up to the 42-yard line. Nicely done for the fullback.
Gives Brian Lindgren an additional wrinkle for this offense with as much as we've seen them use the fullback / H-back role as a lead blocker, and at that time as a decoy. Reception for the decoy.
Yeah, a lot of guys happy for him around the sideline. You can see the smiles and the fun with his teammates. Now another pass here by Schuster, and catching it down on the ground. Spotted down right there at the 46-yard line. That's Antonio Gates Jr. You know, before the 4th down play for Prairie View in the timeout, we were talking about what Bubba McDowell told us in our chat the other day. And he said, the biggest thing I get and from coaching at an HBCU, he said, I'm mentoring these young men, whether they go play football or not, whatever level it is, they come back and they say, Coach, thanks. And I've shed a lot of tears when those guys have come back and said that to me. And it's awesome to know that I'm touching these men in some way. Bubba was a lot of fun to talk to, and his coaching staff. Anthony Whedon, the OC, Fosselman, the DC. Well, we have talked multiple times today about K'Ron Lynch-Adams and his ability to finish runs. Great run there down to the 41 at Prairie View.
Love the way that he runs because he finishes every single time. There's an urgency to the way he carries the football. And so it energizes the team when he's on the field. And frankly, it can begin to wear out the opposing tacklers where they just get tired of trying to come up there and stuff the run against a guy who gives every ounce of himself.
Traylon James was the victim of a stiff arm by Lynch-Adams and picked up several yards after that. This time, tackle is made. Cameron Amayo. A little bit of tempo here after that run for 7. Trying to snap one more play before the end of the 3rd quarter or not. Got a free play here. This is caught by Antonio Gates Jr. You had Tiago Sumbo jump across the line in the interior.
Offside. Defense, number 94. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a first down. And that is the end of the 3rd quarter.
For Michigan State, they had 3 points in the 3rd quarter. On the Fox Sports app, Michigan State soccer, they are 6-0-2, including a conference win 5-0 Thursday over Maryland. Emily Matthews had her 5th goal of the season in that game. Today's quarterback comparison powered by Unleaded 88. Engine smart, earth kind. And here are the numbers for the starters, Cam Peters and Aiden Childs for Prairie View and Michigan State, respectively. Now Michigan State has Tommy Schuster in the game, and boy, for a moment, it looked like his first ever Michigan State touchdown pass was about to happen, but a tackle by Jeremiah Harris took down K-Ron Lynch-Adams. Here's a quick studio update from Dave Repson in Chicago.
Mark Oregon is in good shape in Corvallis. Jordan James with his second touchdown of the game. The Ducks on top 32-14 over the Beavers. Guys?
Well, things certainly are a little bit easier for Oregon this week than they were last week, and that very hard-fought, nail-biting win over Boise State. There's a big hit delivered by Prairie View on the run by Lynch-Adams. He'll lose yards, go back outside the 10 to the 11-yard line.
The big concern I had for the Ducks was more so their run defense than anything else. And Ashton Denty, he's going to be probably at least a Heisman Trophy finalist if he keeps this up. But, man, he ran through that Ducks defense like they didn't have enough defenders on the field. So it's good to see them able to start looking like the team that was anticipated coming into the year.
Gates, a wide receiver. Jalen Smith, the wide receiver, but they were both bunched in close to the formation. Running play, Nate Carter. Marker down late. Carter, that run, barely got back to the line of scrimmage. You see Big Stephen Shaw Jr. up off the bottom of the pile. Transfer from Louisiana Tech. Now playing in his second year at Prairie View A&M.
Holding. Offense, number 9. 10-yard penalty. Repeat. Second down.
From the Houston area, Jalen Smith called for the holding penalty.
We've seen some runs where the Spartans have certainly been able to get out into space, but it hasn't been a consistently overwhelming degree of execution for the guys up front, for the blockers at and around the point of attack. It's going to be really good film. It's been an active defensive front from the Panthers they've had to face up with.
A 60-yard run certainly has helped the average today for the Spartans of 6 yards per carry. Red Stokes Jr. with pressure. Schuster doing well here to extend the play. He got a nice block, and then ultimately a catch is made. Zach Gillespie, a tight end. That is the at least 5th tight end we've seen today. Velling, Masunas, Adamola Filet, Tyneil Hopper, Jay Coyne is a fullback, and now Gillespie with the catch. 3rd down and goal at the 18. Tommy Schuster throws, and this is caught. Gillespie again at the 5-yard line. And hanging on to him was Bryce Turner, the safety for Prairie View A&M, and preventing him from escaping a tackle and perhaps scoring.
It's good reps for Tommy Schuster to be able to get in major college game action. Good, clean pocket. Yet again, pass protection has been consistently stellar throughout the day.
Gillespie 2 catches. Schuster with his first drive. Nice drive, but ultimately a penalty undercuts their chance to score a touchdown, and it fizzles out of the 5-yard line. So the field goal here of 23 yards for Jonathan Kim extends the lead to 33-0. 6 points scored here in the second half for Michigan State, and both of them relatively short field goals by Jonathan Kim, as you see this one go through the uprights. Shutout today.
College football is steeped in
and up because
defensive back Amarion Smith, the former Cincinnati Bearcat, transferred back home before last season to be with his siblings and his mom, who was battling breast cancer. Unfortunately, last month, Marion's mom, Gayla, passed from that breast cancer, and that left Smith as the sole caretaker of his 5 younger siblings, ranging in age from 2 years old to 19 years old. On top of football and school, Smith had to go through the legal process to become the legal guardian for his siblings and received the best news this past Wednesday. He now is officially their legal guardian. Smith told me pregame his number one thing on his mind is making sure his siblings grow up in a loving and safe environment. And the number 2 thing, he wants to graduate and get his degree from Michigan State. Smith, hands down, one of the most selfless humans on this football field today.
Danny, it's a great report, and he's going to have a chance to put his best foot forward because of the love and support he's getting from his Michigan State family. And I'm talking teammates. Yolanda Wilson, who is Nick Marsh's mom, she's really used her platform to elevate and make everyone understand what's happening with Amarion Smith and the difficulties that he's going through. And this community, this university community, Anthony, has put their arms around him big time. And it's, to me, just the latest example of many that are worthy of attention for what can be comfortable as it relates to NIL. You know, it could have been a more difficult scenario for the community to feel like they could help support Amarion Smith a number of years ago before it was okay to, it was legal to support student athletes, not only with your love, not only with your thoughts, but perhaps to aid them even financially in certain ways as well. Because for him, as a young man, as a college student, raising a handful of siblings on his own and caring for them in the way that he needs to, then all that support is going to be worthwhile. Along those lines, GoFundMe campaigns have been set up for Amarion Smith and his family. And of course, he wants to make an impact on the football field as well. And he had a huge block on the long interception return for a touchdown today by Chuck Brantley. There he is, playing with the linebackers right behind Brady Pretzloff there in run support. Guy who essentially came home from Detroit, had become the East Lansing, basically a stone's throw away from the D. Is to be back in front of his friends, his family, his loved ones, and to care for those loved ones younger than him. Efren Josso, the Prairie View punter, is going to be punting into a breeze of some significance that's picked up here in the last little bit. However, he got a lot of leg into that kick into the wind. Montori Foster Jr. caught it at the 19. He's slicing and dicing through Prairie View special teams and brings it all the way up to the 44-yard line. Nice punt return. 9:24 left to play in the game. We're back after this.
For me,
Simple human sense. Montori Foster Jr. had a 25-yard punt return a moment ago. That's brought the ball up to the 44-yard line for the second time today. A drive will be led by Tommy Schuster, at quarterback for Michigan State. I'll tell you a little bit more about the day for the starter, Aiden Childs, as we wind down here in the fourth quarter. Joey Martinez is in the game at running back from Holt, Michigan. His 6th career carry. The other 5 were all last year, and he gains a yard on that run as we have about 9 minutes left in today's game. There's a lot to be satisfied with. Jonathan Smith, the way his team has performed today. Chief amongst those, the focus of his football team. I've been really impressed with the approach that they stepped onto the Spartan Stadium field with. Got a freshman, Brandon Tullis, in at running back. He was in pass pro there. Errant pass attempt by Schuster, looking for Jalen Smith. Aiden Childs, of course, with another start today at quarterback, and engineered some effective drives in the first half of this game. Ends up 12 of 19, 173 yards, 2 total touchdowns. 1 went through the air to Isaiah Johnson, and 1 was on the ground himself. More composure shown from Aiden Childs today. Now his 3rd start on the season.
been doing what I can to try and not overhype Aiden Childs, but I feel pretty good about some of the ways I've been describing him so far.
There's a nice pass by Schuster. Antonio Gates Jr. And Antonio Gates Jr., that is, loses his balance. Coming across the field, but got all the way down inside the Prairie View 30 to the 27. That went for 28 yards to Gates.
And honestly, Mark, as I sort of anticipated what this season would look like early for Michigan State, I frankly thought the run game would be further along than the passing game, even though, I've said it on the Big Ten Network a variety of times, I've been going out of my way not to overhype Aiden Childs just because of how special I think he has the potential to be as a football player.
Brandon Tullis with the run, his first. Inside the 25 to the 24-yard line. What's up for Michigan State and Aiden Childs and company? Well, a trip to Boston College next week. They are ranked. They're going to fall out of the poll after they blew a lead and lost today to Missouri. And then look how tough it is after that within the Big Ten.
Responsibility number one. The prime directive for every opponent facing Michigan State this season will be to how to contain Aiden Childs, how to make this sophomore quarterback uncomfortable.
Another run here for Brandon Tullis, the freshman, getting some of his first carries, played at Memorial High School in Frisco, Texas, and he followed the coaching staff from an Oregon State commitment to Michigan State, much like Aiden Childs, of course,
right.
played a year at Oregon State. I know Jonathan Smith talked to us yesterday about the recruiting when they were in on him very early at Downey High School in Long Beach, and they said they saw talent and upside, but the demeanor, you used the word special. Jonathan Smith used that same word yesterday, said, the demeanor they saw in him at a high school is what made them feel like he had a chance to be special.
I saw C.J. Stroud, so the flag on the play, saw C.J. Stroud and Aiden Childs at the same point in their development as they were leaving high school with them playing in the All-America Bowl. And I made the comparison at that point. And, comparing someone to C.J. Stroud has a lot more weight to it now than it did a few years ago. But the demeanor of each of those individuals as high school seniors struck me in a very similar manner, where C.J. Stroud was under-recruited for his initial years in high school and then sort of burst onto the scene as a senior. Aiden Childs had a very similar arc to his high school path. His was largely because he broke his throwing arm as a junior in high school, and so that's why Oregon State was sort of ahead of the curve in the way they could anticipate what he might become. But ever since then, you're starting to see, just in the years and months since that time, the potential he has.
Now Mekhi Frazier's in at running back. They faked it to him, and here is Parachek, Brennan Parachek with the catch. That's 6 tight ends that have been in the game now today.
The combination of athleticism and arm talent, and not just arm strength. He's not some big guy who could throw the ball really hard. There's nuance to the way that Aiden Childs can deliver the football, with anticipation, with finesse, with touch, and it goes beyond his years. He just turned 19 years old this week.
Mekhi Frazier stood up at the 3-yard line.
It's not easy.
Player from Texas. He was a two-way player at McKinney High School. He had 4 interceptions and 3 forced fumbles playing defense. Frazier did as a high school senior at McKinney.
Well, Danny was talking to us earlier about Nick Marsh and him having the Megatron nickname as being 17 at this point. I played as a true freshman in college. I was 17 years old. You think about Aiden Childs, Nick Marsh, really young individuals with a lot of the weight of this program for what they can become being on their shoulders right now.
Frazier running again, denied going into the end zone, tackled at the line of scrimmage. There's a marker down on the far side of the field, by the way. It's flagged down with 5:08 remaining.
Offside. Defense, number 47, lined up in the neutral zone. Half the distance to the goal, still first down.
Anthony, you talk about being so young playing college football. When I was talking to Nick Marsh this past week, he was a little annoyed that he still has to have his mom, a.k.a. Mamatron, sign some permission slips here in college. And then when I reminded Aiden Childs that his receiver is 17 years old, he said, yeah, now that you say that, that's kind of crazy.
Schuster throwing, and it's behind Coyne. And incomplete with 4:48 left. Coyne does have a catch today. The converted defensive end to fullback.
Well, that's what was honestly kind of surprising about the opening game against FAU the previous time Michigan State was here at Spartan Stadium, because there was so much anticipation for Aiden Childs, for Nick Marsh, what these young studs could be. The offense just didn't look that special. But now, today there was more of an approach to try and be efficient and focus on the run game. Didn't see a lot of deep passes in today's game for understandable reasons.
And Brandon Tullis was lined up there as a fullback and took the handoff. I don't think he got in. As a matter of fact, did the ball come out? That is certainly a case that Prairie View A&M, the defenders on the field, are trying to make that case that the ball came out. We'll get an explanation.
The ruling on the field is that the forward progress was stopped. It'll be third down.
For those curious about these things, by the way, forward progress is not a reviewable situation.
We have seen Prairie View A&M and the Panthers fans just a week ago. They have seen what their short yardage defense is capable of. Certainly wasn't against an opponent like the Spartans offensive line.
Yeah, they had a goal line stand on an untimed down at the end of the game last week from the 1 yard line, where Northwestern State had a chance to score to tie and then an extra point to win had they punched it in, but they did not. Prairie View called a timeout and can review it. Forward progress.
Prairie View A&M, they're first of the half. 30 seconds.
So with 3:54 left in the game, Prairie View burns the timeout. There was an explanation to Bubba McDowell, which may have been just to reinforce the whole forward progress thing, not being reviewable.
One of the things that Brian Lindgren was mentioning to me previously was after that opening performance, he actually brought some of the stats of other great quarterbacks, their performance in their first career start, guys like John Elway, Peyton Manning, Alex Smith, who all struggled in their first career start. And of course, all went on to varying degrees of success, several of them becoming Pro Football Hall of Famers.
As a matter of fact, Jonathan Smith told us yesterday when he had his first start at Oregon State, he said, I told Aiden my first start was terrible. His first start was Halloween night, 1998, in a game for Oregon State against Cal. I could not find a box score. I did try. Here is Tommy Schuster on a quarterback sneak, stays on his feet and is in for the touchdown. That's got to feel good. You see guard Cooper Terpstra celebrating with him and other offensive linemen as well. Tommy Schuster runs it in on that 1 yard quarterback sneak and gets to savor the flavor of a touchdown with Michigan State for the first time. He had a lot of them in North Dakota, but the first one here in East Lansing.
Check some of the North Dakota film from Tommy Schuster. It didn't always look pretty leaving his arm, but he was extremely productive there. That certainly wasn't a pretty scrum, but it still put 6 on the board.
To make it 40-0, and coming into the game is Tarek Ahmet Bosick for the extra point, redshirt freshman from Clinton Township, Michigan. There is a marker down on the extra point as Ahmet Bosick had a chance for his first points.
Illegal formation. Defense, number 12, lined up over the snapper. That penalty is declined. The result of the play, the try is good. Full immediate timeout.
As you heard, there's a timeout on the field with Michigan State cruising here in the fourth.
And I think about
has been on what's going on back at Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City, because today at halftime the 1999 field hockey team that went to the Final Four is being honored. Now, what is the connection? Well, of course, right there, second
there
to the
she
right,
is.
Kelly Truly Herron,
Yeah.
your wife, who was the star goalkeeper on that team, was part of the group that was honored for their fantastic performance in 1999, the field hockey team. Here we go. That's what I'm talking about. Kelly was first team All Big Ten. You were honorable mention.
I did okay for myself.
All-American. Kelly was an All-American. I mean, I didn't make this graphic, Anthony, but just, I have to read the graphics when they're on TV, and it says that you were not an All-American like Kelly was.
I was not, no. Nor was I Athlete of the Year at the University of Iowa, as my wife was. No.
And athlete of the family, as it were.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron family.
Oh,
absolutely.
She's definitely the best athlete in our household. There's not too much debate about that at this point.
Well, we've been getting pictures. Your son Bishop is there with Kelly, and I know that is such a special day. So congratulations to you and the Herron family and to Kelly and all of her teammates. I mean, what a special moment. It was special and emotional today to see the national championship teams for Michigan State for the 65 and 66 football season go into the Hall of Fame, and to see that honor for the field hockey team in Iowa today also had to be just incredible.
25-year anniversary, one of the great teams in Iowa athletics history, went to the Final Four. Last team that the great Beth Beglin ended up coaching before she decided to retire from coaching. Yeah, first team All-American in the household. Hall of Famer at her high school. I got none of those accolades. I'm just getting by.
When you see moments like that, and you see we talk about the great volleyball that's played in the Big Ten. Michigan State, there's a flag here. Michigan State's women's soccer team is top 5 in the country. Seeing the great moment with your wife's field hockey team and them being inducted into the Iowa Hall of Fame, it does make you remember about the success of the student-athlete model at colleges here in the Big Ten and all across the country.
Right, and as it continues to evolve in modern times.
That's number 19, 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
I mean, there's so much about intercollegiate athletics that's different now than it was a quarter century ago when I was still participating in it. My wife and her teammates were participating in it. And in the end, a lot of the evolution, in my opinion, is improving. Yes, it is ongoing. Things will continue to sort of be tweaked. The system will adjust. But in the end, we're seeing, whether it's environments like here at Spartan Stadium, the rise of the consumption of women's athletics, whether you're talking basketball, volleyball, gymnastics, you name it, and the sports in general, in a really healthy place, as long as some of us can just get out of the way and allow it to flourish.
Women's soccer, as we noted, is 5th in the country here at Michigan State. They just had a big win over Maryland, 5-0 on Thursday night. There's 6 wins, 2 draws so far this year, and have started conference play off with a bang and have difficult games out in front of them. By the way, in at quarterback now, Jaden Johnson, the backup from Memphis, is into the game. Transfer from Southern Miss is in the game right now, quarterback for Prairie View.
Jaden Johnson was a part of that 3-man quarterback battle during the preseason.
Prairie View content to take it to the 2-minute warning here before snapping the ball again with a second down and long coming up. All right, a little bit more footage. There's Kelly Truly Herron at Iowa going into the Hall of Fame.
Give him a wave, baby.
Trying to stay perfect in the national rankings this week. They will host Northern Iowa, Northwestern battling Eastern Illinois. We'll see you after the game.
Into the last 2 minutes here in East Lansing with Michigan State headed towards a shutout victory. Team comparison is sponsored by Ace Hardware. See some great offensive numbers for Michigan State. Jonathan Smith brought up the importance of the red zone. 8 of 11 on third downs. That's dynamite. There's been some third and longs picked up. as Prairie View has the ball here and picks up a short gain on 2nd down and 16. I would note, by the way, that there were some really good defensive numbers on there. Prairie View only 22 rushing yards and around 150 total yards of offense. And Joe Rossi, he's in his first season here. Anthony, after 7 years at Minnesota, he said, our defense plays hard and fast. Our identity is effort, toughness, and technique, and all of those things have come to the forefront today.
And that's exactly what he wants to be the hallmark of this defense. When you turn on the film, are you seeing effort? Are you seeing intensity? Are you seeing finish? That's what he wants a Joe Rossi defense to be known for. That's certainly shown up today. He's left of your frame there as you look up into the coach's booth.
And his defense put points on the board too, Anthony.
Right.
Chuck Brantley, in case you missed it, you better go to social media and find the highlight of his 100-yard pick six. It was a heck of a play. Coming up after the game, you'll probably see the interception return, by the way. We'll send it to Dave, Ashley, and Marcel for the Big Ten Live football postgame sponsored by State Farm. They'll break down all of the action, which will include a breakdown of Charles Brantley's 100-yard pick six.
3 of the final 4 years that Joe Rossi was at Minnesota, he had a top 10 defense in the country. That is no small thing when you can accomplish that over and over again. And part of that, yes, they ran the football effectively, time of possession, went advantage Gophers and things of that ilk. But year over year, you saw what Joe Rossi's leadership and play calling ability, his teaching style did.
Fair catch on the punt by Michigan State, and we're back in 15 seconds.
I was raised to believe that you're in this life not just for yourself. With Thriving.
Second half, scored on a quarterback sneak for a touchdown, and will take a knee and will end the game.
Strong effort from the Spartans today. A game they controlled from start to finish. That is certainly the expectation they stepped onto the field with at Spartan Stadium. Impressed by the focus and intensity they took to the field today after a big win they had. First one in the conference from last week. They came and showed up today, responded well, locked in emotionally like a successful team should be.
9-0 all-time for Michigan State against FCS opponents, and their first shutout, as you saw, in 2 years since they beat Akron. And it is a win today. Michigan State is 3-0 under new head coach Jonathan Smith. We'll wrap it up from East Lansing. More Big Ten football coming your way at 7:30 Eastern when Nebraska Northwestern play. Coming up, it's Big Ten Live football postgame for Anthony Herron, Danny Rogers, and the whole crew in East Lansing, Michigan. I'm Mark Followill. We'll go after this break to our Chicago studios for the postgame show.